Good afternoon. This is Brian Reese, Superintendent of Plainville Community Schools. I'm joined with Sam Adlerstein, and we thought we would do a question and answer session with you, and kind of to follow up on our conversation about the MSP project. So, Sam, do you have any questions for me?
No, what I understand is this is a challenge, and I'm able to ask you any question I want about the middle school, and we're going to see how well you do. Is that correct?
Yeah, why do I feel like this is now a test?
Come on, I think you can do this, Brian.
Well, we're going to do it either way. So,
Do you want to start with a couple softballs, or how do you want to do
yeah,
this?
yeah, let's start soft. That'd be nice.
All right. So, would you mind just talking a little bit about the construction scope and process? What would be covered in the construction, and what would the process be?
So that's a very big question. So essentially, when we look at our renovate as new project, it means renovate as new. So when you walk into the building, every surface will be touched, every surface will be new. Everything that every part of the building will have a 20-year warranty. So sure, there'll still be walls that were there, but when you talk about anything that's behind the wall, the electronics, the technology, all of that will be new and up to date and up to today's standards. And that would be done over the next 3 years. So construction would start in the summer of 26. It would continue right through the summer of 27. And then they would close up and close everything up as the 27, 28 year proceeded.
Hmm. So if I haven't ever been in the school and want to know a little bit about the condition of the school, do you have something you can tell or show me?
So actually, I'd be willing to show you a few slides of kind of some of the things that you might not think about, because the school is actually a beautiful school. They did a really nice job with it when they were building it, but it is beginning to show its 33 years. So let me take you over here. I want to share with you a few pictures that I took yesterday, to kind of give you an up close and personal view on some of the things we want to make sure get taken care of. All right, so I'm going to start this slideshow. So one of the things that's really important to us is, as you look through, this is the front door, and as you look through that front door, you essentially see the brick in front of you, and that's where there should be the second door, which is an entrance to the middle school office. And this would help us to have a secure entrance, which is the same type of entrance that they have at the other schools. So you would have a door, glass doors to your left, that are not there now. They would walk through those doors and then go straight through the brick. Obviously, there'd be a door there, and enter the office and be checked in a secure fashion. We currently use security professionals to take care of this, but it's not an ideal situation. As you can see, there's an actual door that goes directly into the building without even a second door, and that's not ideal in today's security expectations. So some of the things we think about are what's happening in the classrooms. But when you do a renovate like new, you actually look at the whole school, meaning the whole facility. So not only are the athletic fields taken care of, but you also look at things like the sidewalk. I'm sure that was an absolutely beautiful sidewalk when the school was built 30 years ago. But as you can see, it's had some difficulties over the time. And you can also see that they've done a nice job of trying to patch it. As you see all that darker area, that's all patching. As I walk over from the left picture to the right, this is yet another area where it's just started to go away, and you have a sizable crack. In this renovation, they will take all those sidewalks, dig them out, and put sidewalks that meet the road as they should, so there's no bumps, and really support the students to safely walk into the school, because these are not ideal conditions. You want to take that a little further, here's another picture. And this picture actually is multiple tails in here. So if you look at that beautiful green column in the middle and you go down to the cement piece, you can see actually that that piece of cement is raised from the pieces of cement around it. It's not a problem in the big picture. It just means that things have settled over time. And that really should be flat. You should be able to walk across there and not be worried that you're going to stumble. The other piece I would ask you to look at in this picture is that kind of cookies and cream look that you see on that brick on the right, because it's a great example of what happens as moisture works in and out of block. And so you can see how moisture and essentially it's excreting as cement does over time. And then part of this renovation would be to go clean all that up, make sure all the mortar is pointed correctly, and then seal it up. And it would look like a brand new surface. We would keep, of course, those blocks because they're beautiful, but it would all be really well done. And as you can see, it is starting to wear. Something else we're looking at is renovate like new means every window. And if you think about the 101,000 square feet of windows, of square feet that that building has, and the amount of windows they have, that's not a small amount of windows. If you look at the bottom of this window, you can actually see that the seal that keeps the temperatures regulated and all that, you can see how the seal is actually broken in here, and that there is actually where there should not be any coloration. There's a white coloration between the two layers of glass. So that's something we would be needing to, that would be all replaced and with a much higher R value to save our energy and to keep us from heating the outside or cooling the outside as it may be. I want to show you that that issue we had with water earlier is not just in that front entrance. You can see this black pieces here that's coming down from the corner of the window. That means that there's an issue with water there that's causing an issue with the brick. As you look at it right now, it's a stain, but that's the problem that's going to continue. And so one of the advantages of doing a renovate like new is that we really take care of all of that. So all that's going to be cleaned up. The window would be replaced. If there's a lintel that's starting to fail, that gets replaced as well. And we flash it, put it all back and seal it up. So you're really starting with what essentially is a brand new building. And so we're really excited about doing that. But I wanted to give you actually a visual, and you can find that anywhere throughout the school. And it's not a bad thing. It just means that the school is 30 something years old. We are also very excited because I think this is where people think about. So this is a great example of a classroom that great things get done now. But it's a classroom that's been retrofit as the program has evolved over the years. And so what we would do is take the wonderful ideas that are embedded in this classroom and really build a class around the program that we're looking to have in that class using the tools of today and really building that so students are able to do the amazing things they do. And as you can see, this is a good example of somebody really trying to retrofit really well. But there's obviously limitations on what you can retrofit. Another example of that is our culinary lab. This is our culinary lab, and there are some very good smells that come out of that lab and some great treats. At the same time, when you think about a culinary lab and what it would look like now, you would offer opportunities to have small kitchen stations where students can work collaboratively and work together and have some space to do it in. The teacher has done a great job of trying to make this work, but it appears it was sort of built as a culinary lab, but we could do a lot better to support her and their needs of today. So that was kind of the pictorial visit I wanted to make with you. And what other questions do you have?
You talked a lot about, so thank you, Mr. Reese. That was very helpful. Picture's worth a thousand words, and so it's nice to take a visual walk through the building. You talked a lot about what is being done in this building. How about what's not being done, and are we doing more than we need to?
So I guess that's the ultimate question. Um, the amount we need to do in the next every mechanical system in the building has at most a 25, 30-year warranty time frame. We are past 30 years now. So every mechanical system, the lights, the HVAC system, the power system, the generator, all of that that you may not see in the windows and the roof are all past that time that we would expect them to be. So we need to do all that. When you put all of those projects together, you come up with about a 35, $40 million price tag, depending on how you did it and what sequence. So what we're trying to do is, if we're going to be spending that kind of money in the next few years, because all of those systems need to be done, why not take advantage of doing the state program where we put in approximately 25 million, and the state of education puts in 40 million, and we end up with, or 22 million and 40 million, and we end up with an entirely new school that has a 20-year warranty on it. Because the state, when they look at the reimbursement, they can reimburse a few of those projects, essentially just the windows on the roof. That's pretty much all they're going to reimburse if we do it in small projects. But if we do the whole project, they will essentially say, look, it's good for 20 years. It has a 20-year warranty on it. So they will give us $40 million to support this project. So I believe that from a financial cost benefit analysis, it really makes sense to move forward with the Renovate Like New.
So you talked about the failing end-of-life mechanical systems, and you said that's roughly 30 to $40 million, and then the extra amount above that is what we would do because it's a renovation project, which then gets us a like new building. What are the advantages of that? What's that incremental amount get us? And by the way, you're sharing the culinary lab. I don't know if you want folks to be focused on that, but you might want to just.
That's true. We can actually get off the slideshow and I'll stop sharing the screen. Thank you for that. Did I stop sharing the screen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the advantage is that you have a new school. So now we'll be able to support, to build our arts program space to meet what the arts program is today, not what it was 30 years ago. It allows us to use some of those funds to address the issues with the fields, whereas we would be coming back to the exact same field if we just took care of mechanicals. It allows us to take and after talking with teachers about what they're looking for and what kind of space requirements they have, we're really excited. One of those things is to look at a science lab that really meets the needs of what we expect students to do with science. And the same thing with the library. All of those opportunities to really give students a brand new school is all sitting there, and I think would really support our students to be much more successful.
Okay, so you've talked about the bulk of the project, which is really bringing up to date outdated mechanical equipment. Yet the additional part of the project is for educational purposes, to modernize that school and turn it into a school that can be used, that fits our curriculum better and teaches our children better. Let's shift gears for a minute. Can we talk about costs for a minute? So is there a more efficient way for local taxpayers to do this? Could we do the same or similar in get the same thing, but do it in a less expensive way?
So when we looked at this project, we went out to a construction group whose purpose, we hired them to ask those questions, to look at, is there a way to just do pieces of this a renovation, just do some renovation, to look at a new school, a whole new building, and then to look at Renovate Like New, and many options in between. And so essentially the cost analysis was that a brand new school is many millions more. And so there's no real point in doing that. And it would also be very difficult because there isn't a natural space to do it in. So a new school was kind of put on hold as not really an option. When they looked at doing just fixing mechanicals, because the state won't reimburse most of that work, the town would go from a $22 million price tag essentially up to a 35, $40 million price tag, depending on what the state's reimbursement was. That's a significant difference to the town. And so we're looking at the smaller costs, and that's really the best option for our community.
Okay, so that's the best option for our community. It's a smaller cost, but how about as a taxpayer, will my mill rate go up? And as this project gets built, what can I expect to see in my mill rate and what I pay for my property tax?
So So this project has been anticipated by the community leaders for about at least 10 years because it was part of the sequence of renovations of the schools that started back in 2006. So because they had planned on it, they actually have a debt payment that's actually coming down as we go through the next few years because other projects are being finished. We've completed paying the payments on those projects in the town. As that happens, we are able to actually, the town is able to take on the debt that would come from this project without increasing that debt payment that the town makes every year. And that means that this project has no impact on the mill rate, which is kind of exciting as well.
Okay, this may be the most important question. So what happens next, and what do you want me to do?
So what happens next is next Tuesday, the town council meets, and we are really hoping that they are going to set a referendum date, which is March 19th. That's what we anticipate. And then on March 19th, there's a vote at the firehouse where the town decides as a community if this is a project to move forward. And then the process starts of getting architects, of getting contractors, and getting the program going.
So March 19th at the firehouse, there'll be an all-town vote. All residents can come out and vote either yes or no for this project. Is that how it works?
That's how it works.
Okay.
Firehouse, March 19th.
I may be out of questions. I mean, I could try to get through some gotchas. You want me to try a few gotchas or?
Not really, not really, because I think I'm going to turn those back on you. So I think one of the things that I get asked that I think people are wondering about is kind of what's the sequence of events, and the best place to look for that is in our website. If you if you Google MSP project, you will get all the information that we're talking from. And that's actually the best place to get actual numbers. And anything I've said is in there at some level. But what happens if assuming the referendum goes through, after that, we go and we apply for the state grant. While we're applying for the state grant, we start talking to the town about getting architects in place. So we go out and we RFQ, RFP, and request for proposals and qualifications. And we ask for architects to bid on the project, and we accept one of those bids. So we choose an architectural firm. They start the process of drawing and CADing and inspecting and looking through the school at a very high level or a very detailed level and develop documents that we could then build on. Once we're to a certain point in that build document planning process, and hopefully that's in the, let's say, spring of 25 timeframe, we then go out and we go for an RFP to get a general contractor who will come in and essentially bid the project and tell us what they think the costs can be and what the price will be. And with the architect supporting us, we would hire the general contractor and they would take us through the construction project. And I think I said it before, but the plan is that they would be putting the shovel in the ground, so to speak, for the sidewalks at least, on in about June of 2026. And that's essentially how that works. And by that time, by the time we're putting a shovel in the ground and hiring a contractor, we would actually know the state's grant has been approved, and we would be able to move forward. So essentially, um, the hard part is waiting. The good part is because it takes time, we'll actually know what the grant status is before we start spending the significant dollars that are involved in the construction. And I think that's been on some people's minds as well.
You answered, thank you. That was very good and that was very helpful. And in that answer, you talked about what happens after the referendum passes. What if the referendum fails, Mr. Reese?
That's the hardest question that I've been asked so far, because I think it puts us trying to figure out what's happening. So our process to get this going, one thing is it takes this long for this type of project. So one of my fears is if it were to fail, is that it pushes all of these projects off. And all of these systems that we're talking about we've already been told they're at the end of life. And I really would like to avoid replacing chillers because they just stopped working, and going and ripping things out and putting a lot of money into little short-term fixes. And my fear is that that's possibly what happens. But essentially, if that happens, if it doesn't pass, we'll be right back at the table trying to figure out what the next step is. And if it looks like it's a referendum, I suppose one option is to do a referendum for 35 million or 40 million and to try to take the projects without doing the state grant is one option. It's somewhat asking me to speculate because I'm not exactly sure how we would proceed, because obviously it would be something the town council, the Board of Education, and our staff would need to work through.
And just let me clarify what you just said there. So if we do those projects without the state grant, then the cost to Plainville goes from 25 million to maybe 40 million. Is that what you just said?
Yes, because remember the 35, 40 million, depending on what kind of how the bids come in, would be just to take care of those projects that we've been told are at end of life. And so we have a responsibility to replace and do those projects. So yes, it would cost us more money. And the other piece that potentially would add to that is that because we would be pushing everything out another year, every year they've been talking, essentially they're using a 6% escalation. So what the contractors are telling us, or the professional estimators we've been working with, are saying is that you should assume that prices will go up about 6% for the entire project. And 6% doesn't seem like a lot for a small amount of money. But when you're talking about $40 million, 6% is a lot of money. So, that's something we want to try to avoid as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we did see that happen because we have done two cost estimates on this project. The first was in the spring of 2022, and then later in the fall of 2023. And the local cost to taxpayers went up $1.3 million just from that delay, just from the spring of 2022 to the fall of 2023. So that's the kind of thing we see if we do delay this project, in addition to the potential for mechanical failures. And since I stopped being the question guy, I just want to add that we are very fortunate to have very talented maintainers working in district, and they've been able to keep that mechanical equipment going. And there have been failures, and there have been issues with that building, and it's to the talent and the hard work of a few individuals that's keeping that building to the capability and ability to serve students that it has been.
Well, and we had a meeting last night, and they were our consultant was talking about how quickly the town manager's team and our team has put this together, and really tried to make this work with the town council's support and the Board of Education support. So when you talk about being fortunate, I certainly feel like we're very fortunate to have the people we have working on this. So.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, what do I type into my browser to be able to see that additional information? Could you say that again?
If you type in MSP project, you will get you will come right to the site thanks to our assistant town manager, Mr. Ciroli. So
And if you like the way that looks, there's a lot of information there, what Mr. Reese told you, as well as additional information. If you like the way it looks, that was Mr. Ciroli, our assistant town manager. We don't have dedicated staff to put together that kind of stuff, and he did that, in his spare time. I'm sure it was, a lot of time out of the office, but it looks great and there's a lot of information there. I would encourage people to go there.
he did. So. All right. Well, we really appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. We are here. Ask any questions you have. You can reach us by email. You can give us a call. The town manager's office also has been fielding calls as well, and they're happy to do that as well. So otherwise, this video will only be up on our site until Tuesday night, because at that point, as we go into our silent period and won't be able to, we can answer questions and we can share facts with you, but we can't advocate for the budget after Tuesday night's meeting. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Reese.
Thank you.